Well, I think it's about time to start. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to AFC's World of Travel. This is Randy Case, founder of AFC Vacations, and I'm really happy to be with you. Actually, I'd like to be with you in person. Most of you have been to our travel shows at libraries and hotels. However, COVID is preventing us from doing that, so I think this virtual show is the next best thing. This is the third virtual show we've done, and there'll be many more to come, about once a month. Anyway, today's subject will be our fall and summer tours. We're specializing in outdoor tours to the national parks and scenic areas of US and Canada during the summer. And in the fall, we'll be doing fall colors all over the East Coast and different parts of the US. So today's program will center on domestic tours for AFC, that's US and Canada. On your screen, you can see our last two newsletters, which were mailed out to you if you're on our mailing list. And these have a chock full of all kinds of ideas for travel. So let's get started. For those of you that have never traveled with us, AFC is an acronym for Affordable First Class Travel. And we've been in business now for 39 years. On the right-hand side, you can see the first tour we ever took out in 1982. I led a tour up to the Canadian Rockies in Canada. I want to talk about our commitment to wellness. The travel industry has really got behind and committed to the safety of all passengers. So airports, airlines, hotels, motor coaches, restaurants, they're all doing all kinds of things to protect you from the COVID virus and the pandemic. This includes wiping down and sanitizing all kinds of surfaces, circulating the air in airplanes and motor coaches, using HEPA filters and ultraviolet light to kill viruses. And again, social distancing and wearing masks. So your safety is number one priority in the travel industry. That's a picture of Arlene and I. We took a trip this summer and enjoyed it. But we're going to be planning 3 trips for next year. I don't know about you, but 10 months of lockdown in my house, we're ready to go and travel. And we have got our first inoculation, so I hope you're looking into vaccine because we should be ready to go, Arlene and I, and immune by March 1st. So we're planning some trips for next year, and these are personal tours that Arlene and I will be taking, where we're going on a road trip to Yosemite, and then we'll be going on a trip to Europe, and that will include the Italian Dolomites, the mountains of the Southern Alps, as well as Dubrovnik, Croatia. And then we'll be going in October to Niagara Falls. So we're planning travel, definitely. We think it's going to be a great year for travel. All of the professionals at AFC, and by the way, there's over 116 years of experience with our tours, doing tours. Our staff are very helpful and one of the biggest assets to our company, I feel. Now, as far as the components included on your tour, 29 years ago, we pioneered the idea of picking you up at home and taking you to the airport. What a novel idea, but it's really come on strong. At that time, we used super shuttle vans, and now we've picked it up a notch, raised the bar, because we're using limousine companies where you'll be picked up in a town car, an SUV, or a Mercedes Sprinter van. And what a great way to start and end your tour. There's a lot of different ways to save money with AFC. Our solo travelers, you get 50% off the single supplement on about 30 of our tours, and that's for the first 2 or 5 singles to book. So if you want to save some money, single travelers, book in advance and save a good bundle there. A multiple vacation, if you book 2 or more vacations, there's discounts. Everybody qualifies for our cash early booking discount. And what that means is if you pay your deposit by credit card, and then you do the other payments by check, you can save from $50 to $350 per person. Our average tour is $100 off. That's $200 per couple. So really take advantage of that program by being one of the first 20 people to book any given departure. The real heart and soul of our company, besides the staff, are our tour managers. This is where the rubber meets the road. You're going to find these professionals have at least 15 years experience. Some have been doing it over 20 years. These people are fun. They're great problem solvers and wonderful storytellers. So I think they will make your vacation so much better. We include airfare on all of our packages, and the airfare is probably the most expensive per person item on your vacation. So we include round trip airfare. We try to book nonstops, and if those aren't available, we do connections. And these are, again, on major airlines. We have our own air department. Dave Robertson, maybe you've talked to Dave, is a great guy, and he's been doing it 16 years for AFC, and he really knows how to get the best schedule for you and the best seats and so on. Also remember that if you have friends or family that live in some other part of the country, if you have a sister in Dubuque, Iowa, or a real good friend in some other town, we can do their airfare. They'll get a credit for home shuttle because we don't do that out of those little towns. And then we'll give them the best airfare we can. And I think that's a great way to have somebody join you on a trip. Again, we're a worldwide tour and cruise operator. So we have programs all over the world, international, domestic, every continent. So if you, it's one-stop shopping really with AFC. We can take you anywhere you'd like to go in the world. We always have great dining experiences, and there's really a great choice of menu. And we have lobster when we go to Maine and Nova Scotia. We go to cooking schools. We have meals on trains. Great, exciting memories with the meals. We use only great accommodations, 3- and 4-star hotels, and many of them are historic. Like the upper right, that is the Mackinac Island Grand Hotel. We're also a member of the United States Tour Operators Association. What does that mean to you? This is a very prestigious organization, only 63 members. It's the top tour operators in the world. And each operator has a $1 million traveler assistance program. And that's to help reimburse people in the case of any bankruptcy or problem. And most other companies don't have that. AFC does. Also, we offer low-cost travel protection. So if you'd like to trip cancellation and so on, AFC offers that. And there is a section of it that allows you to cancel for any reason, even if it's not medical. And so you should ask Joe and April and our reservationists about that. We have some specials going on for you that I'd like you to take advantage of because you're attending today's show. If you book a trip with us by February 5th, which is about a week and a half from now, the deposit, which goes on now, is $99 instead of $350. So for a couple, instead of $700 deposit total, you only have to put down $198. In addition, you'll get the early booking discount, and we'll take another $25 off per person because you attended today's show. Also, another bonus would be if you buy the trip protection at the time of deposit, we'll take another $20 off your tour price. I added all these up the other day, and I owed a lady $8.50. So you can really save some money on this. Take advantage of these offers. And here's the people that make it happen in our res department: Joe, Claudia, and April. And there's different ways to contact them. You have a toll-free number, you can email, or you can go on our website. And again, it's all about fun. I think if you surveyed people, why do you take a vacation? I think most would say to have fun and have great experiences with newfound friends. And that's what we do at AFC, and we specialize in it. Some of the events that we do that make it really interesting, we have wine tasting and wine matching with food up in the Napa Valley. We go to many cooking schools around the country, including New Orleans and Santa Fe and Charleston. On the lower right, you'll see a lecture at a nursery for orchid growing in Santa Barbara, which we arranged and had them tell us how they grow orchids. Again, our attitude is you're not a spectator, you're a participant when you go on our trips, and we want you to feel like you're a local. A lot of fun on our trips. On the lower right, you'll see a picture. That's Barbara Jorgensen, one of our tour managers, a great lady. She's making chocolates. But the lady in the green blouse there, a little shout out to my mom. My mom lives in Palm Desert, and she's listening today on the show. And my mom in 2 weeks will be 93 years old, and she's still traveling with AFC. What a great thing. Here we are having fun again, cocktail parties. Everybody's pointing down at Plymouth Rock, by the way, which is 400 years old, or 200 years old now. You know, it is 400. Yeah, 400 years old. Wow. Talk about fun tours. Let's talk about our mystery tours. We've been doing these now for 9 years. We've done over 40 mystery tours, and most of them sell out, and they're really popular. And we brought back 3 of our most popular mystery tours, and we call them Encore Mystery Tours. Again, we're offering them for a second time. So if you're a first timer, you should definitely take these trips. These are the cream of the crop, the best ones we've ever offered. But if you've taken 5 or 6 mystery tours, you should also call Joe and April, and we'll look up if you've been there. And if you haven't been there, you should probably take these trips too. We'll also be offering 6 brand new mystery tours to destinations we've never done before. These are off the beaten path. These are not replicas of what we do in our catalog. These are different trips than we've ever done. I want to give you an example. One year we went to Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and had a wonderful tour there. We also went to West Virginia. AFC had never been to West Virginia, and the mountains there in fall were spectacular. In the lower right, you'll see where we had our lunch at the Greenbrier Resort, a 5-star hotel. We went to Spokane, Washington, and stayed at the beautiful Davenport Hotel, did a day trip over to Coeur d'Alene, and Bing Crosby's pictured there because Bing went to the university there, Gonzaga, right in Spokane. We've all heard of the Amish country in Pennsylvania. Well, how about the Indiana Amish country? And we have a trip that goes there, and we unpack twice in 2 different places, and we learn all about the Amish people, the Brethren, the Mennonites, and the Amish. And in the lower right is a mansion. That's the Studebaker mansion who made the cars, famous for Indiana. Madison, Wisconsin. Are you getting the idea here? These aren't main cities like Boston or New York or LA or Chicago. These are second-tier cities that we go to on these mystery tours. And Madison is a beautiful capital city between 2 lakes. Frank Lloyd Wright by visiting his studio in Taliesin. We also have many of our mystery tours that are set up around an event. In a small town in Iowa called Pella, they have a tulip festival every May. We went there and we saw the tulips. We also visited the covered bridges that were used in the book, The Bridges of Madison County. And a famous movie star named Marion Morrison is from Iowa. You know him more as John Wayne. And we visit his birthplace and museum. And also we'll learn about Bavarian history at the Amana colony. So again, that was a real interesting tour. I want to start our program today by talking about the most popular tour in AFC's repertoire of programs. And that's our Niagara Falls and the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island, Michigan. Nobody else, no other tour operator combines these 2 destinations into one magnificent trip. You'll need your passport because you're going to be going into Canada on this trip. But again, it's a wonderful program set around incredible scenic beauty and wonderful hotels. Now, we're going to start in Detroit, and we're staying in Dearborn, a suburb. And this is where Henry Ford had his famous Ford automobile plant. And he built millions of Model Ts. And did you know you could have any color you wanted in a Model T as long as it was black? And he paid his people $5 a day, which was unheard of at the time. This is the early 1900s. And we'll go into the factory where they make the F-150 trucks. And we'll also go to the Henry Ford Museum where he has classic cars and his outdoor village called Greenwood Village. Then we'll go up to northern Michigan and we'll take a ferry boat over to Mackinac Island. It's a very small island, but it's home for a great hotel called the Grand Hotel, built at the turn of the century, about 1890. And there's no cars allowed on the island, only horse-drawn carriages and bicycles. So it's like a time machine going back in time. The hotel is also a time machine. At night, you'll have a wonderful meal. It's a 5-course meal. They like you to wear, gentlemen wear jackets. I wear pants too, but big jackets are what are required. And you can see the rooms are beautifully decorated. And at night, instead of TV, you've got big band dancing as well. Or you can sit in a rocking chair and look out over the lake. Now, you can take this tour in the spring, which is the tulips time, or the fall for fall colors. Also in Michigan, we'll stop at a very Bavarian town called Frankenmuth. And it's got special German food. It's got a glockenspiel. We have a German-style hotel that we use. and they have the largest Christmas store in the world called Bronner's. And it's interesting, it's the size of a Costco, I kid you not, all decorations for Christmas. Then on to Niagara Falls, and if you've been there before, you'll know all the best attractions are on the Canadian side. So we're not going to go to really Niagara Falls, New York. We're going to go and spend our time in Niagara Falls, Canada. And you'll see a Mountie there. That's the equivalent of Canada's FBI. That's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in the scarlet jacket. And we do a lot of included features. However, one of our optionals is the barrel over the falls. So you may want to pay up and to our tour manager and get that lined up when you get on the trip. Anyway, lots of things to do in this area of Niagara Falls. We'll see the falls from everywhere. We'll go up in the Skylon Tower and have dinner, look down 600 feet to the falls below. We'll go underneath the falls in an elevator, what's called Journey Beneath the Falls or behind it. And that's where you see all those people in the yellow rain slickers. And then we'll go right to the lip where the falls will be going over about 12 feet away from you. And that's the Horseshoe Falls. We picked a wonderful hotel for 2 nights. It's the Marriott Gateway. You're only a block and a half from the falls, and some of the rooms have just great views there. Next, we'll move on to some of our other national parks tours. This will be the first tour that AFC operates in 2021. On March 21st of this year, our first tour will go out. We have 30 people paid up and ready to go. So we're already going to be operating tours in a couple of months. And this tour has a short flight to Phoenix, and then you go to Sedona, the Red Rock country, and you unpack for 5 nights at one hotel. And there are 2 train trips. And the Red Rocks country can be explored by the pink Jeeps if you'd like, and you'll learn about all the history of this beautiful area, and you'll stay again 5 nights at the Hilton Hotel. And we'll see Montezuma's Castle, built by the local Indians. We'll see an old gold mining town called Jerome. We'll have a chuck wagon dinner with Western entertainment, and we'll see, again, all the Red Rock country up through that area. You can take helicopter rides if you'd like. We're going to go to the Grand Canyon on the Grand Canyon Railroad. That's the Vista Dome cars there. And we'll also take another train through the Verde Valley. So again, 2 train rides. Each one's about 3 hours in length. How about this tour? This is a short one, 6 days. And again, you unpack twice on this. You fly into Vegas, and then you go to Mesquite as well, where you'll be doing Bryce and Zion National Parks. But the real highlight is the Grand Canyon West and the Skywalk. Now, this is not on national park ground. This is on Indian reservation, and they have built an incredible steel structure with plastic bottom of walls that goes out over the canyon, and you get a great view. And you can see down below at the bottom of the slide how this skywalk is extended out, cantilevered, if you will, out over the canyon. And again, the walls are clear plastic, and there's a clear plastic on the walkway as well. So you really get a view that nobody else can get. On this tour, we'll also spend 2 nights in Las Vegas, and we'll go through the Valley of Fire. California Rail Discovery. This is a great trip for our Texas clients. It gets you out of the heat of Texas and over to Northern California, and you'll see big cities and small towns. San Francisco, our capital of Sacramento, and then beautiful Lake Tahoe at 6,000 feet up in the mountains. All those things are included on this trip, as well as 2 train trips. And again, you're going to see all these wonderful things on our trip. The 2 train trips are quite different. One is on Amtrak, and it goes from Sacramento up over Donner Pass in the Sierra Nevada mountains and down into Lake Tahoe. And that one has these beautiful cars where you have captain's chairs and look out through the windows there. Below that, you'll see our other train trip, which is through the Napa Valley, one of the top wine growing areas in the world, grape growing, winemaking areas. And that's the Napa Valley Wine Train, where we have an included 4-course lunch with wine. And Lake Tahoe is one of the more scenic areas in all of the country. It's a beautiful lake, again, at about 6,000 feet. We'll be staying the 3 nights at the Lake Tahoe Resort, formerly a Embassy Suites. And we're going to be seeing the Reno car collection. We'll go to an old silver and gold mining town called Virginia City. And we'll end at San Francisco as well with a harbor cruise. Lots on that trip. This was a fun tour to put together. It's a short one, again, 5 days, 4 nights, and you're going to the Indian country of the Navajo. You'll be visiting Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. You fly into Albuquerque and you do a circle. And you'll be seeing great national parks and wonderful Indian history. This is one of the 19 pueblos that are in New Mexico. It's in the upper left. It's called Acoma, or Sky City, and we'll visit it. It's the only pueblo built on top of a mesa. We'll also go to the Painted Desert and Petrified Forest National Parks. We'll learn about the Navajo, which they are actually sheep herders, and they're really known for their wool rugs. And we're going to visit the oldest working Indian trading post called Hubbell's Trading Post. And that's an actual, the Indians come and sell their wares there. This is really historical. Route 66 was built from Chicago to Los Angeles, and we'll be on and off it on this trip. Right now, Route 66 has been replaced mostly by Highway 40, a freeway, but there still are sections of Route 66, and we'll visit those. Now, Canyon de Chelly is the highlight of this tour, and this is actually 3 canyons that come together, and they're quite scenic. There's a river down the middle of each of them, and these are the red rock sandstone formations. You can also see a spire of rock on the upper left photo, and that's called Chimney Rock. It's 630 feet straight up, and it's very popular with free climbers. They climb just with ropes in their fingers. The highlight of the tour when we go to Canyon de Chelly is the 4-wheel drive truck tour that goes along the riverbed. There is no road. It just goes right through the river. And you'll see Indian cliff dwellings. This is all narrated. You'll really enjoy that. 2 nights there at Canyon de Chelly. It's a little town called Chinle, right on the Navajo reservation at the Thunderbird Lodge, a very historic property. We'll also visit the largest collection of Navajo Indian cliff dwellings. And actually, these go back to the ancient ones called the Anasazi over 700 years ago. This is Mesa Verde National Park. And we end our tour in Durango, which is famous for gold and silver as well. And it's also famous for its old hotel, the red and white brick hotel called the Strader. Again, this tour has a lot going for it, and it's very popular. If you really want to take an intensive tour of the Canyonlands, this is our top seller. It's 9 days, a circle out of Las Vegas. It goes to Utah and Arizona. It's called Ultimate Canyonlands, and it visits 6 national parks and 6 state parks. So if you want to be outdoors, commuting with nature every day, this is a photographer's delight, this tour, and you're going to really enjoy what you see on this program. This is Zion National Park, both the valley floor and the upper area, and where you see those waves of sandstone, that's actually called the waves. At Zion, you'll go to the Temple of the Wolf, and that rock formation in the center is called the Pulpit. We have spectacular hotels. This is the Majestic View Lodge, which is located in Zion. And again, you commute with nature on this trip. We'll be visiting Bryce National Park, Canyonlands National Park, Fiery Furnace State Park, and then you can see in the upper left a picture of the Slot Canyons. And that's no wider than 6 feet, and it goes up about 50 feet. And these are carved by swirling water and rocks and sand. We'll go to Escalante National Recreation Center, Capitol Reef National Park, Coral Pink Sand Dunes State Park, and then lower left, you'll see all these mushroom-shaped rock formations. That's called Goblin Valley State Park, and we have a nice picnic there. Hope you're excited about this. I want to go tomorrow. This sounds great, doesn't it? Arches National Park has over 230 arches, natural arches, including one that's bouncing rock. You can see that in the lower left. And then Monument Valley is also on the Navajo Reservation. In Monument Valley, we have a 4-wheel drive truck tour. And you've all seen this in the movies. Over 40 pictures have been shot here and commercials. Most famous are John Ford and John Wayne, who teamed up for 8 movies here, like She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, Ford Apache, Stagecoach. They were all shot here in Monument Valley. And then we'll go to Lake Powell, and you'll be able to go on a cruise that's included that goes up into Antelope Canyon. And one of our last stops is the north rim of the Grand Canyon. Interesting to note that 90% of people go to the south rim that come to the Grand Canyon. Only 10% of the visitors go to the north rim, and it's quite different. It's 1,000 feet higher, so it has big pine trees like ponderosa pine, and it's much more isolated, and the view is spectacular. And you have a chance to have lunch there at the Grand Canyon North Lodge. I'm very proud of all the fun things we do on trips, but turn your attention to the upper right photo. I'm very proud of that because 3 generations of one family were on an AFC tour. There's the grandmother, the daughter, and on the left there in the red, the grandson, all sharing 3 generations on one tour. We have several tours that go to New Mexico, and this is our one that unpacks once. Fly into Albuquerque, and then you drive about an hour and a half to Santa Fe, and you unpack for 5 nights. And we're going to learn everything we can about New Mexico, the Pueblo Indians, their jewelry, their costumes, and their types of food. Those are red chilies that are actually drying out there, and they're famous for their chili stews and so on. We'll be staying at the beautiful downtown Hilton property at Santa Fe, and that's a great chance to go out and buy the jewelry, the silver and turquoise jewelry direct from the Indians. We'll be learning about Millicent Rogers and her beautiful paintings that she did there in Santa Fe, the Loretto Chapel, and also we'll go to the Santa Fe School of Cooking. In addition, we'll visit Taos on a day trip, and Taos Pueblo is really historic. This is where Kit Carson, you can see him pictured in the lower right, the great Indian scout and Army trailblazer. He lived there. He was gone quite a bit, but he had 11 kids, so we know he dropped by once in a while to see his wife. New Mexico Balloon only happens in October. It's similar to the tour I showed you last, but you're going to do Santa Fe and Albuquerque, and you'll center around the big balloon fiesta. So again, here is Santa Fe. On this tour, we'll be staying at a very nice hotel, again downtown, the Inn of the Governors, and that Santa Fe cooking school is just a highlight. Again, here are some of the different Pueblo Indians that we'll be visiting, including the Taos Pueblo. And Albuquerque will be our home for 2 nights. In October, the aspen and cottonwood trees will all be a golden yellow. And the Balloon Fiesta is the largest mass ascension in the world. It goes on for 10 days. At its height, there'll be over 800 balloons that go up. We happen to like these special shapes. There's probably about 350 balloons that go up, but they're all individual shapes. You can see there's a tree stump, a Tweety bird, an eagle, a pirate, a lighthouse. These are a lot more interesting. We'll also go to the glow at night, where they tether the balloons on the ground. They're tied down, but they shoot off the gas deal and they all light up, and you'll see that on the program too. Now we're going to go up to the Pacific Northwest. Again, another national parks tour. You'll be going to Washington and Oregon, and we call it Oregon Trails and the Portland Rose Festival. This tour goes in June, and it centers around the Rose Festival in the city of Portland. And again, you unpack once at one hotel. You'll see the wonderful parade that they have, second only to the Tournament of Roses parade in Pasadena. There's downtown Portland with Mount Hood in the background. And we're going to learn about, on the lower left, that beautiful mansion. That's the Pittock Mansion. And he came and formed the first newspaper in Oregon, which is still published today, called the Oregonian. Our hotel is the Doubletree Hotel in the City of Roses. And this is where 2 rivers come together, the Willamette River and the Columbia, and that's where the town of Portland was built. The Rose Test Garden, believe it or not, has over 1,500 rose bushes, and they're all in bloom in June. And this is really well done. We'll also go up the Columbia River on a day trip on our motor coach, and we'll be seeing the waterfalls there called Multnomah, and drive up on Crown Point, which has a beautiful view. We'll also do a day trip to the coast, and this is the fabled Haystack Rock area of the Oregon coast, and we'll spend a whole day there. You probably had Tillamook cheese. Well, this is where they make it in Oregon, and we'll visit their factory. And then we'll learn about the Lewis and Clark expedition, which built a fort there in Oregon in a place called Astoria. Now, Lewis and Clark were sent out by President Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson, because in 1805, he tripled the size of the United States by buying the Louisiana Purchase from Napoleon. The trouble is, he didn't know what he bought. It had never been mapped. So he sent out two of his real close friends, Lewis and Clark, on a 2-year discovery of core discoveries. And 2 years, they went up and back and mapped this area. And we'll learn all about that. A nice day trip to Mount St. Helens, which blew its stack in May of 1980. Is it unbelievable to think that was 40 years ago that eruption happened? 1/3 of the mountain literally vaporized, and it sent ash and dust into space that circulated all around the world. And the highlight again is the morning Rose Parade, which is sponsored by Delta Airlines, and the floats are beautifully decorated, just like the ones in Pasadena. Every square inch of the float is covered by some kind of rose petal or plant or something colorful. Very well done. Another Northwest tour we have is called Waterways of the Northwest and the National Parks. And this takes in Seattle, Tacoma, and Olympic National Park. And you'll be on ferries, you'll take whale watching trips. In fact, notice the whale watching boat there. We're not looking for regular gray whales. We're looking for orcas, the killer whales, the black and white ones. And we'll take that on our whale watching trip. We'll go up to Olympic National Park to see the Hurricane Ridge, the view of the mountains. The beautiful blown glass there is by Dale Chihuly, and we'll visit his studios in Tacoma. On the lower left, where you see the elk, we'll go in the Northwest Trek, where you go on these beautiful little trams, and they'll show you all the different animals of Oregon and Washington. And again, this is a great trip that way. We'll also ride a ferry for about 4 hours, and it'll take us through the San Juan Islands. You get a spectacular view on our way to Seattle, and we'll spend a couple of nights in Seattle as well. Another tour that does the whole coast of the West Coast. This is, again, wonderful for our Texas clients who want to go in the summer and escape the heat of Texas. You'll be doing Washington, Oregon, and California. You'll fly to Seattle, and you'll finish in San Francisco. So you've got a great complement of big cities and national parks. We'll see Mount St. Helens, Portland, Seattle, the Rose Test Gardens, the beautiful coastline of Oregon. We'll stop at the sand dunes in Oregon and Florence. At the Rogue River, we'll take a jet boat ride, a very exciting jet boat ride. We'll go through the California wine country, and we'll also visit San Francisco. This trip was our third most popular trip last year because of Unpacking Once. It's an outdoor national parks tour, and it's filled with all kinds of sights and attractions, really different things to do each and every day. So you unpack once in Rapid City for 6 nights, and you'll see Mount Rushmore, you'll see the Crazy Horse statue, Devil's Tower, lots of buffalo. You'll go out to the Badlands, which are those weird eroded rocks. They're all colorful. On the way, you'll stop at Wall Drugstore, which goes back to 1931. And you'll also see Custer State Park, which has all of the bison or the buffalo. In fact, we'll go out on these 4-wheel drive Jeeps off the road, up the mountains and around the hills, looking for the buffalo for sure. Your home for the 6 nights is the beautiful Mount Rushmore Holiday Inn, which you can see the lobby is an atrium style. You'll take a steam engine called the 1880 train, and you'll learn about the cosmetic costume jewelry called the Black Hills Gold, which has sort of a yellowish and copperish bronze color to it. We'll visit Deadwood on this tour, famous for Wild Bill Hickok. We'll go to a wild horse sanctuary where you'll learn about Mustangs. You'll learn about the movie Dances with Wolves, because you'll go to the places where they Kevin Costner made the movie, which won the Academy Award. We'll go to a chuck wagon dinner and have Western music. And we'll go to a lodge up in the Black Hills called the Bar KS Lodge and have dinner. So again, so many things to do and see on this trip, unpacking once. Our second best-selling trip is Yellowstone and Mount Rushmore. And we do this in the summertime, and it's the best time to go. And this tour flies into Rapid City, South Dakota, and then it does Wyoming, Montana, and Utah, ending in Salt Lake City. So you're going to see the oldest national park in the United States and the beautiful monument at Mount Rushmore. Four of our greatest presidents are enshrined here: Washington, Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Interesting to note that originally the sculptor was going to sculpt these men right down to their belt buckle and waist, but they ran out of money, so they only did the upper part of the lapel of Washington. Down below, you'll see Crazy Horse, the Sioux chief, and he was famous for the battle with Custer, and that is a giant sculpture that they're working on. I think they have another 40 years to go. They'll probably be blasting with dynamite when you're up there, but the face is done right now. That face is 90 feet high. Any one of you could stand up in the eyeball of Crazy Horse. Now, AFC is very famous for its behind-the-scenes tours, and here at Mount Rushmore, there's no difference. We have this great tour showing you what's going on behind the scenes at the memorial. We'll go to Cody, Wyoming, and we'll see, what I think is the best Western Indian museum in the world, the Buffalo Bill Cody Museum. Of course, Buffalo Bill is from this area, and he took his Wild West show on the road. It went over to Europe and London, and he really showed people in Europe what it was like in our Old West. And you're going to learn all about that. This is the oldest national park in the world, set aside right after the Civil War, 1872. It's Yellowstone National Park. You can see that they get its name because of the Yellowstone. There actually was no park service, and the U.S. Cavalry was in charge of this park for almost 40 years before the Park Service was founded. And you can see these beautiful prism type of hot algae beds. That's where you see the color, the yellow, the brown, the green, and the blue. That's all algae that grow in these very hot waters. The water there can be up to 130 degrees. That's the Morning Glory pool. On the lower left, you'll see what's called a traffic jam. That's rush hour at Yellowstone. And then the Old Faithful Lodge, which we'll visit. And again, we'll also go to Mammoth Hot Springs, where you see those terraces made out of limestone, and we'll see those. One of our last stops will be Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and it's famous for a national park there called the Grand Tetons and the Snake River. And this was all ranch land donated to the federal government for $1 by John D. Rockefeller. And we end our tour in Salt Lake City. So a really, really great tour. Again, it's fun. We like to stop. Our tours are leisurely paced, so you'll see us stopping for picnics and photo stops. And our average day is about 8:30 to 4:30 in time, and we do a lot of two-night stays. So we try not to do a tour like, if you remember that movie, if it's Tuesday, it might be Belgium. Must be Belgium, where, they did 4 countries in Europe in one day. Our tours aren't like that. Much more leisurely paced. This is another tour that unpacks once, and if you can't go to Switzerland, you've got to go to the Canadian Rockies. Flying into Calgary, and then it's an hour-and-a-half drive to Banff. 5 nights in Banff, and you'll be visiting Alberta and British Columbia. And Calgary is called the Oil City or the Foothill City, and you can see in the background the peaks of the Canadian Rockies. The gondola on the right goes up over the town of Banff, and down below that, where you see the canoes, that's the Valley of the 10 Peaks, Moraine Lake. And on the left, that's a beautiful restaurant on top of Sulphur Mountain. We'll be spending the 5 nights at the Banff Park Lodge. And again, you can see some wonderful things. On the lower right, you'll see the Chateau Lake Louise, the Queen Victoria Glacier. We have dinner at the chateau. And again, lots of wonderful wildlife there. These animals have been protected from man for over 100 years, so they don't fear man, so they come right out. Moose, bear, goat, elk, Rocky Mountain sheep, the big rams, all of those will be seen on the trip. And we end our tour at a beautiful stop up on the Icefields Parkway. And this is the Athabasca Glacier. And the glacier is a tongue of ice that comes down the mountain. And think of it as nature's bulldozer, and it pushes and scours the rocks. And then as it retreats, you have this U-shaped valley. And this glacier in the upper left used to come all the way down to that chateau, but it's been retreating for years now. And we're going to go out on the ice and walk on ice that's about 500 feet thick. That's what those big snow tractors are for. And you can go out. That's an included feature with AFC, taking you out on the ice. Along those same lines is a more intricate tour that goes to this area called U.S. and Canadian National Parks. This is for somebody that wants to see it all. You fly into Spokane, and you'll be going to Washington, British Columbia, Alberta, Montana, and Idaho. You'll do a big circle. Every day you'll be in the Canadian Rockies or looking at them. This is an alpine scenery extravaganza of a tour. And you'll go to big towns and small towns. You'll cross the Continental Divide 4 times. You'll cross the Columbia River 3 times. You'll go to Radiant Hot Springs, where bring your suit because you're going to go in. We buy admission for you. It's kind of fun because you go in at 76 years old and you come out at 54. So that's worth the money. And again, all these great hotels in the Rockies, like the Banff Springs Hotel, Chateau Lake Louise, we visit all of those. We'll be going on the ice tractor at Columbia Ice Fields as well. We'll go to another national park, and this one is called Waterton National Park. And we'll be having lunch at the Prince of Wales Grill and going through the beautiful drive called the Going to the Sun Highway, which you can see a bicyclist on there. And this is what we'll go on. These little red jammer cars hold about 15 people. And we'll take quite a few of those as our bus cannot go over this road. So we take the jammer cars. And we'll actually be staying in Glacier National Park at the Many Glacier Lodge, which is patterned after a Swiss chalet. It overlooks the Swift Current Lake, and we'll spend the night there. And more people having a good time. You might recognize yourself because every picture that I show here of people are people on AFC tours. We're the only company that does a whole week in Idaho. It's not an afterthought. We're not throwing in a couple of days in Idaho. We're going to actually spend 2 nights, 2 nights, 2 nights, 3 hotels in Idaho, wonderful resorts, great food, and again, really, really wonderful sightseeing. You're going to go over 6 different mountain ranges. You'll see lakes like this one, Coeur d'Alene. We actually stay at the Coeur d'Alene Resort in the tower rooms, so you'll be looking out over the lake. You'll see the Snake River and the Salmon River, and you'll see the lupin flowers, the purple flowers there. And again, you'll see ranches and scenery just like this, log cabins, cattle ranching. This is what Idaho is all about. This is a small lodge, under 100 rooms, where 2 rivers come together, and we'll be staying there, and we'll go out on a jet boat ride. You can see that on the Salmon River. We'll learn about Lewis and Clark, and then in the lower right, I'm really proud of offering this. This is an included feature. We're going to go to a smoke jumping school. There's only 2 of them, one in Idaho and one in Montana, and they teach young men and women how to jump out of a perfectly good plane and land and go fight forest fires where there are no roads. These are real, true heroes, and we'll go to the smoke jumper school. And our last hotel is the Sun Valley Lodge. Believe it or not, this is the first ski area ever built in the United States, built by an Austrian ski master. And we'll stay in the original lodge that was used in the movie Sun Valley Serenade. Do you remember that in the 40s with Sonia Henney and John Payne? Yep. And you can see some of the old posters from Sun Valley. And on the upper left is a picture of Ernest Hemingway. And actually, he died and is buried right outside of Sun Valley, a little town called Ketchum. And we'll visit that site. Colorado Rails and National Parks, another great tour for our Texas customers. And you'll be going up in the summertime to the beautiful area of Colorado. So your round trip in and out of Denver on your flights, and then you do a circle through all that beautiful, lovely country of the Canadian Rockies. And you'll see 2 national parks, and you'll go on 2 train trips. The train trips include the Silverton to Durango narrow gauge railroad, which are the yellow cars there. And then in the lower right, the yellow Santa Fe Chief engine, that is the train that goes to the Arkansas River. And there's a bridge up above. And I don't know why, but there's a sign from that bridge that says no fishing from the bridge, even though it's 800 feet above the river. I don't know. Here's what you'll see. You'll go to Vail, a beautiful ski area. You'll go to Colorado Springs and see the Colorado Monument, which is the red rocks there. You'll go to Arches and Canyonlands National Park. You'll also go to Colorado Springs with the Garden of the Gods, as well as the Air Force Academy, Mesa Verde full of cliff dwellings, and you'll end in Denver. That's a picture of the state capital of Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. Now we're going to switch gears and talk about fall foliage. And what's interesting is fall foliage, you know, we have 2 seasons here in San Diego. We have summer and next summer. And I think you'll like going to see the changing of the trees. This tour has the best of both worlds. 3 nights in the mega city of New York and 3 nights up the Hudson River Valley. So in New York, of course, you have all these great sites, one of the most cosmopolitan cities in the world. Radio City Music Hall, Statue of Liberty, Lincoln Center, Grand Central Station, Ellis Island, the Liberty, or I should say the Freedom Tower, the 9/11 Memorial, which is where the Twin Towers used to be. All these things are in New York. We'll include a Broadway show, a top-notch Broadway show is included. And then we'll go up into the Hudson River Valley to Hyde Park. And we'll visit the Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Eleanor House in Hyde Park called Springwood. And it looks exactly as it did in April of the 1940s when FDR died. We'll also visit the West Point Academy, our military academy, and we'll take a cruise on the river. And again, you'll see all beautiful colors. We'll visit the Boscobel Mansion and also go to a sugar shack where they make maple syrup. And here's the type of fall colors you'll see. And yes, we do find a lot of these dirt and gravel roads to take the motor coach down. This tour is also a big seller for us, Cape Cod and the Islands. You fly in and out of Boston with 1 night Boston and then 5 nights right out on the Cape in the town of Yarmouth. And what you're going to love about this tour are all the day trips. You're going to learn about John F. Kennedy because he was married in Newport. He was a senator from Massachusetts, and the Kennedy compound is located in Hyannis. We'll go out to Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. We'll go to Newport and see the mansions and go whale watching. Upper left is the state capitol building for Boston, the state of Massachusetts. On the right-hand side is Ocean Drive, Millionaires Row. These are where all the mansions are in Newport. That's the Breakers Mansion with a shot of the interior. And we'll also go and learn about the Pilgrims because we'll visit Plymouth Rock. In fact, Plymouth Rock is now 400 years old. That's last year was their 400-year anniversary. And we'll see the replica of the Mayflower ship. And we'll also go to the Plymouth Plantation, kind of like a Williamsburg. It's a recreated village of Jamestown. Now, when we go to Martha's Vineyard, the motor coach will drive right onto the ferry and we'll go right across. And this is where they shot the movie Jaws. And this is where all the celebrities live. And every president has vacationed here since Dwight D. Eisenhower. And you'll learn all about this area. There are some beautiful restaurants in Vineyard Haven and Edgartown and a lot of Victorian homes. Now, going to Nantucket is a different story. It's a smaller island. You go across by catamaran, and the coach does not go with us. We use school buses, actually, when we get there. But this is an old whaling port where before there was electricity, before there was kerosene, people burned whale oil to light their evenings. And we'll learn about that. A lot of colonial buildings here. And again, there is a whaling museum there in Nantucket, which we'll see. And of course, we'll have a lobster meal. And you'll also learn about cranberries, because this is the location where Ocean Spray Cranberry Juice Company has their headquarters. This is another, I think, top 5 trip for AFC. This is Eastern Canada at its best during the fall colors especially. And this is where you'll see the great cities of Canada: Montreal, Quebec, Ottawa, and Toronto, as well as Niagara Falls. So you really look forward to this. We fly into Montreal, and then we take a train trip from Montreal to Quebec. It's about 3 hours long. And Montreal is a fabulous city. It's actually built on an island in the St. Lawrence River, and it's built around a mountain called Mount Royal. In fact, in French, Montreal means Mount Royal. Up in the upper right, where you see the big tower and so on, that's the Olympic site from the Summer Games of 1976. Quebec City is the oldest city in Canada, 1608. It's a walled city. There's no other walled cities in North America. And you'll see the gate there on the lower left. A lot of 300-year-old buildings, cobblestone streets, and of course, on the upper left, the Chateau Frontenac Hotel. The capital of Canada is Ottawa, which means to trade. And like Washington, D.C., it's filled with historic buildings and museums. And we'll see those. Then we'll go to the Thousand Islands area of the St. Lawrence River. There's actually almost 2,000 islands. And we'll go on a cruise past that castle called Bolt Castle. And that'll be a nice cruise. On to the largest city in Canada. It's about the size of Boston. It's called Toronto. And you'll see all kinds of things there. That tower that goes up is called the CN Tower. And we're going to go to the top of that. And for an extra charge, you can put on a harness and go right to the edge and lean out over. No, thank you. But that is possible. And this tour also includes Niagara Falls, as we've mentioned before. Classic New England. This does all 6 of the New England states, flying in and out of Boston. So you're going to see everything on this trip. And it centers around the small towns and some very, very nice historic lodging. That's the Red Jacket Hotel in New Hampshire. You'll see the Paul Revere statue with the Old North Church in the background, and that's part of the Freedom Trail. The food's delicious on this tour, and we'll go to a lot of craft shops. And you'll be able to see a lot about Norman Rockwell, the great painter. We'll go to his studio and learn all about his paintings. And again, we'll also go and check out these areas of Newport, and we'll stay at that beautiful hotel with all the green glass. That's called the Mohican Sun, and we'll spend 2 nights there. It's in Connecticut. And here's our Coastal Maine Lighthouse. And this is a brand new tour, and this does the coast of Maine, all those nooks and crannies. In the upper right, you'll see a picture of a lobster roll, and that's where they take the lobster, cook it, and they put it in a hot dog bun. It's delicious. And when we go to Boston, we're going to tour the oldest baseball stadium in the United States. It's back to 1912. It's Fenway Park. In the upper right is the hotel we'll stay at in a little town called Kennebunkport, Maine. And that's the Nonanum Lodge. Isn't it beautiful? Right on the water. Now, again, we'll have a lobster meal. We'll learn about lobster traps, visit small little towns, lighthouses. We'll take a lobster boat out for a cruise. In the lower left is actually a giant life-size chocolate mousse. His name is Lenny, and it's at Libby's Chocolates. It's all made out of chocolate. And here you can see the train trip we take in North Conway and the Kangamingus Highway, that windy road that will go on. Brandywine in the Poconos. This is a great tour with Deb Howard as a tour manager. And this visits Eastern Pennsylvania. So you've got 4 nights in the Brandywine Valley and 2 nights in the Poconos. And you're going to learn about the DuPont family, who make chemicals now, but they're from France, and they built these beautiful mansions in the Brandywine Valley. And this is called Demure. We'll also visit the studios of QVC, which stands for Quality, Value, and Convenience. It was the first online shopping network. We'll also go to Longwood, another DuPont mansion and gardens. We'll visit the sweetest spot in the United States. This is Hershey, Pennsylvania, and we'll learn how they make great chocolates there. In fact, you'll have a chocolate tasting contest where there'll be 8 different or 10 different chocolates from all over the world, and you'll taste the difference. Swiss chocolate, Belgian, American, and so on. The Amish country, we'll visit that and have dinner. It's a plain and fancy restaurant, and it's got all the fixings of a great meal. And then Philadelphia is just a 45-minute drive, and we'll spend the whole day there, and we'll visit Independence Hall. 3 of the standards that make our democracy work were all signed there: the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. And we'll have dinner at the City Tavern, which dates back 150 years. And we'll also visit the Betsy Ross House. Driving up to the Poconos, we'll visit a little town where Martin guitars are made. These are the best acoustic guitars in the United States. We'll see how they're made. And the Poconos have wonderful fall colors: the sumac, the maple, the hickory, all in beautiful colors, in the oak trees. And we'll stay 2 nights at the Shawnee Inn. And this is an old historic inn of under 100 rooms. And again, the fall colors are spectacular. Now here's a tour you might think, what are they thinking of? Why would they want to go to Pittsburgh and Falling Water? Well, you know, this started as a mystery tour. The first time we offered it, it sold out. The second time we offered it, it sold out. And the people that came back all rated it 9.5 out of 10. And they just thought, wow, there was so much to see. They had no idea. And that's why this tour is so interesting. And you're going to learn about Andrew Carnegie, or Carnegie, as they say, a Scotsman who made his money in steel. And 2 rivers come together right here in Pittsburgh, the Monongahela and the Allegheny, and that forms the Ohio River. And you'll go up in that red funicular car, and you'll also visit so many of the great universities there, like Carnegie Mellon and the University of Pittsburgh, as well as a great museum that could be a Smithsonian, and that's the Carnegie Museum. Now, Frank Lloyd Wright built a lot of commercial and residential buildings, but about an hour and a half outside of Pittsburgh, up in the mountains, he built probably his greatest residential design called Falling Water, and we'll tour through that. We'll also learn about Heinz, because he lived in that area of Pittsburgh, and he, of course, is famous for his 57 sauce and Heinz ketchup. And on the left is a sandwich. That's a very famous sandwich in Pittsburgh. It's called the Permanente Brothers. You got to have one of those when you come to Pittsburgh. Nova Scotia and the Canadian Maritimes. And this is a tour that goes to the far eastern part of Canada. In fact, it's so far east, there's an extra hour time change. There's a 4-hour time difference between California and the Maritimes. And so we'll be going to Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and New Brunswick on this trip. You'll learn about the Scottish traditions because Nova Scotia means New Scotland. So we'll see bagpipers. We'll learn about Anne of Green Gables, which is the gal there with the hat and the red pigtails, because that book was written on Prince Edward Island, Anne of Green Gables. And we'll learn about lighthouses and all these wonderful places. This is the largest town. It's called Halifax, which actually has a large Titanic museum, because this was the first port closest to where the sinking occurred. So the rescue boats brought the survivors into Halifax. On the right-hand side is a mountain range that's part of Cape Breton Island, and we'll travel that. You can see the roadway. We'll stay at beautiful lodges like the Inverary Inn, and we'll also visit the Alexander Graham Bell Museum. Bell did a lot of his research on the telephone here, and he invented the first seaplane as well. And again, you can see all the different things: Peggy's Cove, Lunenburg. On the upper right, you'll see the Bay of Fundy tides, and the tides go in and out 30 feet there, and we'll see that at Hopewell Rocks. New England Rails and Trails, this is a great trip too, and this includes all the different sites along New England, but it also includes a couple of train trips, and I think you'll enjoy those. The one on the left is the North Conway Scenic Train. The one on the right is the Mount Washington Cog Railroad. It's very similar to a railroad you'd see in Switzerland in the mountains. And it goes up to one of the tallest peaks in all of New England. We'll visit a lot of the craft shops there: General Stores, maple syrup, apple cider, Ben & Jerry's ice cream factory. All of these are included on the tour. And one of the last trips I want to talk about is our tour in November to Florida and the Keys. I want to mention this is not a Mickey Mouse tour in more ways than one, because we're not going anywhere near Orlando and Disney World. Believe it or not, there's a scenic and historic side to Florida. We fly into Tampa and home from Fort Lauderdale. So 2 nights Sarasota, 2 nights Fort Lauderdale, and 2 nights out at Key West. And yes, you'll see an airboat ride, and we do that at the Everglades. We start in Sarasota, and this is the Ringling Brothers house and museum. And John Ringling built this giant mansion called Kitazon with an art gallery and a circus museum. Then we'll go on to Fort Myers, Florida, which was the winter home for 2 great inventors, and that would be Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. And for years, they spent their winters down here in Fort Myers. The lower slides below are Fort Lauderdale, which is called the Venice of America because of all the canals. And we'll take a cruise on those canals. In Miami, we'll visit upper left, the Biltmore Hotel. You're familiar with the Biltmores. There's probably 12 of them in the United States. There's one in Santa Barbara, Phoenix, Los Angeles, and so on. What's interesting is that has the largest swimming pool of any hotel in the United States. And when this opened in the 1930s, the first lifeguard was none other than Tarzan himself, Johnny Weissmuller. And then we'll go out on the going to the sea highway. And this goes from mainland of Florida, 126 miles all the way out to Key West. And it connects the islands of Key Largo, Isla Morada, Marathon, Big Pine, and so on. And you can see the road there, and it goes out over these warm waters with coral reefs. In the lower left, we're going to stop at one of the islands for an alligator show where they do the feedings. These are big guys, they're 14 feet long. We'll also visit on one of the islands a sea turtle hospital where they rescue sea turtles. And we'll stay at a beautiful hotel, the Doubletree at Key West. And you'll learn about Ernest Hemingway, Papa Hemingway. He lived here for 12 years in Key West, and he wrote about 60% of his books here. And every year they have a Ernest Hemingway look-alike contest. The photo on the upper right is the winner holding the bust and the 4 runners up behind him. Also, you can see a picture of Harry Truman. This was called the Southern White House, and he came down over 12 times to visit here and stay, especially in the winters. And I want to finish with our European river cruises, because AFC is chartering a number of these beautiful boats to cruise on the first highways of Europe, which weren't highways at all, but rivers. And these are beautiful boats. We're doing them in 2021, and then we're doing 4 of them in 2022. So it's never too early to have a look. And we use a company called Amadeus, and this is a brand new boat built last year called the Imperial. And I'll stack it up against anything Viking or Avalon or any of the other cruise lines have. It's a beautiful ship. They hold between 150 and 190 passengers. They're all outside cabins, quite spacious. The average cabin, 175 square feet. All the meals are included. And notice a picture below where you can see the window. It has a line from right to left. The windows are like your car. You push a button and it goes down. Instead of sliding back and forth, it goes up and down. And you can see the cabins here. And again, these are beautifully done all the way up to the suites. Again, all the meals are included. You have wine with dinner. Various wines are included. 1 shore excursion each day is included. These are top-notch tours and programs. All of the riverboats in Europe have 3 levels plus an upper deck. So there's 3 levels of cabins and public areas. And then the upper deck normally has a small jacuzzi pool and shuffleboard and open bar and deck chairs and so on. And we have a couple of trips that are going in October of 2021. You can break them up. So you can sail from Amsterdam to Nuremberg, or you can go from Nuremberg to Budapest, or you can take the whole thing, 16 days, from Amsterdam all the way to Nuremberg. Your choice. AFC has you covered. And again, we charter these boats. So the boats are all for AFC customers. And if you go from Amsterdam to Nuremberg, you will cruise on 2 rivers in Europe, the Rhine River and the Main River, or Main, M-A-I-N. And you'll tour through Germany, and you'll end up in Nuremberg. And you'll see Amsterdam and all these beautiful towns. This is Bamberg, another beautiful German town with the great architecture. You can also do the program, as I mentioned, where you fly into and start in Nuremberg. You fly into Frankfurt, and we motor coach you to Nuremberg. And then from there, you cruise to Budapest. So this would be on the Danube River, mostly. And when you go on the Danube, you'll be going along some of the old Iron Curtain countries. This, of course, is the old Czechoslovakia. This is the Slovakia Republic and the town of Bratislava, which is the capital. And then down to Hungary, this is Budapest, which is right on the Danube. And it's actually two cities, Buda on one side with the capital and the castle, and on the right other side is the parliament in the town of Pest, so Budapest. So again, think of those. And if you want to do it, here's the whole thing all ready together, 16 days into Amsterdam, out from Budapest. You really get the best bang for your buck doing that trip. Also, for December of 2021, that's this year, we have a Christmas markets tour on the Rhine. And this is where you'll go to these wonderful outdoor markets that are located in various towns along the Rhine River. And again, these markets have great handmade ornaments and lots of entertainment. And it really is a tradition that's going on for hundreds of years in Europe. Here they are all lit up at night. And also we're doing Normandy for next year, and that includes Paris and the Seine River. And Normandy, of course, the famous landing at D-Day in World War II. We'll also be doing the Passion Play as part of the Danube River. The Passion Play was canceled for 2020, and it was moved to 2022. It happens once every 10 years, as you know, and we have a cruise where we've chartered the boat, and we cruise and then spend 2 of the days doing the Passion Play in Oberammergau. Again, that's the end of our show. I just wanted to tell you about, again, a lot of the deals that we're offering. Right now, there is a $99 deposit, whether you book within a week or not, but we add an extra $25 off the tour in addition to the early booking discount. And again, that's if you book it by Friday, February 5th, a week from this Friday. And also, if you book your travel insurance, when you deposit, we'll take $20 more off the tour. So this is a pretty good deal. Again, that's Joe Sergio. Joe has been 23 years with AFC, and our groups coordinator is Claudia. So if you have a group or a senior center that loves to travel, Claudia handles all of those. Now, the best thing to do would be to call Joe tomorrow, or if you want to book, call April today. Again, I want to thank you for attending the show today. It's been my pleasure to entertain you, and hopefully it's been educational. I know it's confusing because there's so many tours we offer. Hopefully I've helped you focus or get an idea of where you'd like to go for 2021. Again, we're very optimistic with the safety procedures we have in place, plus the distribution of the vaccines, that it'll be a great year to travel, and 2020 will be in our rearview mirror. So thank you again for attending, and I hope you'll travel down the road, and we'll see you later. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.